We've been invited to the showroom shack-up by the team here at Creative Rides in Bryanston, Johannesburg. My name is Thabo Ramashala. So the day today will be filled with some classic cars, some sports cars, a couple of vintage cars, plus also some hot rods. Join us for the day. We're going to have a lot of fun, and if you are interested, some of these cars are actually for sale. I'm here with Kevin Derrick, who is the owner of the amazing space that we're in here, which is called Creative Rides. The place was established in 2017, and I wanted to just get an idea from Kevin as to how everything started here.
Well, we started off having a very big interest in classic cars. So I've been building and collecting classic cars since my 20s. So that's a good 35 years now. So that's how classic and love for cars started. And we always wanted to have a shop where we could display cars and a place where people could come and sell their cars. So we started off here, basically putting my collection of cars on the floor, and I phoned a whole lot of friends to say, please help. And they brought all their cars, and that's how we got the showroom full.
Excellent.
Today, all the cars on the floor are all on consignment, and we act as agents between sellers and buyers of these cars.
And Kevin, the other thing I wanted to ask, you did say that some of your own personal cars are here on the floor. Which cars of yours are displayed here today?
We have one or two that are here on display. One of them is the Buick next to you there, the white one. The 57 Ballet behind you. So those are very nice in close proximity. And the blue Beetle that you see behind me is a very recent purchase as well.
And I saw a sign, a very interesting sign that says a vintage car is like another man's wife. You look, you admire, but please don't touch. Tell me a bit about the type of clientele or the vintage culture that you guys have here.
Look, it's a petrol head culture. So it's guys that love cars. So when you are 2 and 3 and 4 years old, your mom buys you a little car.
True.
Okay? And you learn to love little cars from a very young age. And as you grow up, you start seeing cars that you like. And in your era of upbringing and your time that you were out there and growing up, you have certain things that you've loved. So when you get a little older and you have an affordability of something that you really were passionate about when you were younger, well, from an emotional point of view, you go and find that thing and you buy it. So often you went to school in an old car that was your neighbor's car, and you got a lift with your best mate, and your best mate's dad had a Mustang, because this was in the 60s, mid-60s, and he took you to school in this Mustang, and you freaked out about it your whole life. So now you're in your 40s or your 50s, and you think, you know what, I still go back to that nostalgia.
Yes.
And you want one of those, so you go and find it. And that is true for a Beetle, it's true for a combi bus, it's true for many, many, many cars. So there are cults following all these things, as even the likes of VWs. So take a little, what we would have called a box Golfie.
Yes.
Those are all collectible today, and there's a whole following. And these guys meet up and they go and they travel somewhere.
Yes.
And you've got the same, so we're used to saying this is in Ferraris or Porsches. Well, yes, it is in those, but it's not only that. It's in many clubs.
Yes.
It's Beatles. It's there's a group of guys called air-cooled maniacs, and that's all air-cooled cars. So it's all the VW type old cars, and they go all over the place, and they have special shop meets, alpha clubs, Italian car clubs, and you can carry on and on and on and on. I recently spent a bit of time in KZN, and driving back on Friday, we drove past a little place called Vrede, which is in the northern KZN, and I saw a beautiful Ford Phaeton standing, about a 1931 car. And I grabbed hold of the old man that owned this car, and he said to me, wow, they belong to a club. There's 40 guys in the club in Vrede, which is a tiny little town.
Yes, it is.
Between them, they've got 300 cars. So there's a typical example. So even the towns all around the countryside have a place, the people that want to meet, and the cars is the fun thing. And we take families and we do drives and you do picnics and you meet at certain places and you have as much fun as possible.
Excellent. And lastly, Kevin, I know this might sound like a silly question, but for a novice like myself, what's the difference between a vintage car and a classic car? Because we get a lot of that confusion.
Anything that's older than 40 years is a classic car. And you may call a vintage car a pre-war car. So pre the Second World War,
Yes.
you had a certain kind of car being built right up until the turn of the century. And after the Second World War, you have a certain car being built up until our modern cars. But they've all carried a certain history with them, a certain time frame with them. In other words, that cult follows right through, yes.
So that was Kevin Derrick. He is the owner of Creative Rides. He's given me quite an interesting insight into the world of vintage and classic cars and the space that he has here. We're looking forward to an awesome day here at Creative Rides in Sandton. I'm standing here with Chantal Canario, next to her gleaming and her gorgeous 1968 Pontiac GTO. Chantal, give us a little bit of a history on this car.
Okay, we purchased the car from a gentleman in Regent's Park, which is in the south of Joburg. He was actually going to scrap the car and make it a jacuzzi.
What?
And we saved it as a matching numbers car and rebuilt it. So everything has been rebuilt from the suspension, which has been renewed, interior has been done. We've got a LS3 Corvette motor in it, a new generation motor. So it's pretty much nearly a 600 horsepower car. Took us on average of 5 months to build, and it seems to be the showstopper everywhere we go.
So how many shows do you take it out to normally?
Every show there is it goes to. So everybody who knows us at Smith Garage will know the GTO. It's like our brand.
Excellent.
This is our staple, yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask is, how many people, how many man hours did it take? Is it about 5 years?
No, it's 5 months.
5 months.
5 months. But generally, this one was quite a quick build because when we started, it was one of our first builds. But generally, it can take up to a year to build, depending on the specifications of the build at the time and what you want to upgrade it to. So this was our first kind of project that we learned many school fees because you start not knowing really what you want to build and you kind of tweak it as you're going to get it to what you want. So we had the first original motor in, which was the original 400 motor. And then obviously because of the way trade is now, parts are not manufactured like they used to be. So we've now changed it to a new generation motor to make it actually more efficient and more reliable as a daily driver.
All right, earlier on we were having a chat, and besides cars, I actually realized that you're very passionate about kids. You did mention an event that you do. Just tell us a bit about that.
Okay, yeah, we have actually collabed with a company that we've actually, a foundation that we've developed ourselves called Cars for Kids, which is the Smith Garage Cars for Kids. We did our first show on the 28th of July this year with an amazing turnout. We had over 2,500 people that came through there in feet, and then 400 cars that came, with about 45 companies that sponsored us for the day. So we've actually grown it into a brand now. So every year we'll be doing the same thing, and then obviously do sort of sub-shows through the year just to keep it, the brand awareness going to grow the foundation.
Excellent. Last question, how did you get into this? This is a question I've been asking everybody because I need to get to that. So at which point did you realize that this is what you want to do with your life?
Look, I've always been into cars since I grew up in the car business. It's a family trait. I mean, yes, for a woman it is different, but I've built myself up from being an assessor, a panel beater owner, to now doing the restorations in the classic cars or muscle cars, because we do more muscle cars than the classics. But it's also just a passion for the trade. I mean, it's building one of these is a work of art. It's not like a new car. Every car is different, every build is different. No two cars are ever alike. No two clients are ever alike, so you're never ever going to have a duplicate of any car.
Okay. Chantal, I'm looking forward to actually coming out to your shop, Smith Cars, you did say?
Smith Garage.
Smith Garage. I'd love to come and see it, have a look, and maybe even join you for the event with the kids.
Yes.
I've got a little 3-year-old myself who is getting into cars, so I'm definitely looking forward to joining you guys.
More than welcome to come.
Thank you so much.
It's a
Chantal.
pleasure. Thank you.
So that's Chantal with her beautiful Pontiac GTO, and clearly somebody who's very passionate about classic cars, and somebody I'm looking forward to learning quite a lot from. So I'm here with Callum Orbell, who is doing sales and mechanics here at Creative Rides. I wanted to ask Callum a few questions. Starting off with Callum, how long have you been with Creative Rides?
I've been with Creative Rides since it opened, about 3 years now. Been in the industry for about 15 years. Started restoring and actually building the cars. Now I move more towards salesman and project management.
And what type of clientele do you engage with on a day-to-day?
It's actually quite interesting. We meet a whole different group of people from all walks of life, guys who just want something more entry level to enjoy on the weekend, to really high-end collectors that want to spend a lot of money on something very rare. So a little bit of everyone.
It varies, yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to find out is what weird or interesting requests have you had?
Sure, we get people coming in all the time asking if we've got cars that are so rare that it would be incredibly difficult to find or even import them. So some people don't entirely realize how rare some of these cars are. So yeah, we get asked about some incredible and wonderful cars that would be very hard to find.
And in terms of these particular cars, where do you source your cars from?
Currently everything we've got here is locally sourced from collectors all around the country. We can import as well some of the more rare vehicles, so we bring them in from all over.
So Callum, from my side, Prince Harry and Princess Meghan have invited me out for lunch. I do roll with some of the heavy hitters, and I want to make a really good impression. So what car do you think would be ideal for me to rock up in to make a good impression for lunch?
Something like that, I'd say an E-Type Jaguar. It's British, it's classy, it's respected, and it's iconic. You won't go wrong with that.
And while we're on what's your favorite car, Callum?
I get asked that often, and it's actually a really hard choice with so many cars here. But today I'd have to choose the Porsche 930 Turbo. It's just such an iconic car. I absolutely love it.
All right. Excellent. Thanks so much for your time. This is Callum Orbell. He is one of the guys here at Creative Rides. He's in charge of sales and mechanics. He's given me a car that I can now impress the prince and the princess with, and I'm going to go see them. See you guys later. It's been a brilliant day here at Creative Rides, where I've spent this awesome day amongst these gleaming classic cars that have really left me in awe. My name is Thabo Ramashala. Thank you so much to the guys at Creative Rides for hosting us. We'll definitely be back for the next one.